Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your audience. Let's talk about energy. So, start with a very simple question. Who of you thinks energy is one of the most important topic in our time? Yeah, maybe you will ask why is she asking that? Because yeah, we can feel it everywhere in prices and in uncertainty, in global tensions. But the second question, what I want to ask is, how much of you or who really knows what consumption you use and you need every day or every year, except of your house or your living, the residential? How much of energy you will use? Does anybody know of you? Yeah. So that tells us something very important. We know that energy is very essential, and on the other hand, we don't really know what we really need and don't be really aware of it. So we are living in a time where we are incredibly good in creating intelligence. Machines can think, can write, they can decide. But the biggest challenge in our time do not live on screens or just being machines. They live in buildings, they live in energy systems, they live in infrastructure, in rising costs, in unstable global supply chains, and in the daily reality of billions of people. So, where are we standing today while we are talking about the artificial intelligence? We experience the biggest energy disruption of our time. The geopolitical conflicts have shown us dependencies. The energy is not guaranteed, and at the same time, energy is power. Energy is security, and energy is stability. But still, sometimes treated as a side topic. Let's talk about the AI demand for data centers, for experience. While at the same time we are make the infrastructure for AI, for the data centers, which basically are very important. So by 2040, the global electricity demand will be 3 times more than today. By 2050, will be 13 times more than today. But put that into perspective. This is a comparable electricity consumption of the whole US per year. And if we would supply that poorly with solar power, we would need an area of Costa Rica by 2030. So who of you likes the country Costa Rica? Yeah, it would be really sad to cover it just with solar power, right? But anyway, we'll find another country. No, but it should really show you what demand or which area we would really need. So in 2050, we have to cover, to get this energy, the field of Spain or Thailand. And at the same time, we are electrifying everything. So this example was just for the data centers. We're electrifying the transport, the heating, the industry. Additionally, the cooling consumptions is growing faster for the residential buildings. So the cooling demand will be 3 times more by 2050. So we really need solutions for that to cover that energy demand. So we know now energy conquers all, and the real problems lie that currently we solve challenges with exponential solutions. We will produce, or we have to produce more electricity. We use more land. We use more infrastructure. But I guess, and my personal opinion is, that the future will not build on more anymore. It will build on better. So the future, for me, is not shaped on a single trend. It is shaped where multiple forces collide. So we have to combine technology, energy, climate, demographics, and economics. And this is what we experience right now. I want to tell you a personal story. We received a large project with a large area, a high energy demand, so like a classic setup. And during this discussion with this potential client, something comes very clear to me. We are still thinking too small. Because the focus always was on the question, how much land can we cover with solar power? And that's even if we would waste some energy. So nobody asked, do we even need this much land? Or can we make it more intelligent? Or can we make it more efficiently? So I want to tell you something. Every piece of land, what we will take, is taken for somewhere else. And maybe not now it's limited, but I've shown you the consumption or the demand, what we really need in the future. Maybe it's limited one day. And this piece of land, with what we are taking now, inefficient, we will use or need for the food production, for the nature, or for our ecosystem. Because at the end, everything is connected. And energy is not an isolated system. It's a part of a larger cycle. So, for example, my future vision, if we are building buildings in hot regions, instead of AC, we could use cooling water with ceiling system or wall systems. We can create cooling water more efficiently and more comfortable. And at the same time, we can produce electricity, and both of them with renewable energy. So if we combining several technologies intelligent, we can use less land, we can generate more useful energy, and we can reduce the total demand. Especially for the data center before, we could use 30% of less land, we could use 50% of less storage and resources, and could save more money. So the difference between technology is, between technology versus system is to rethinking about. So, and this is what we are doing with the SISI AG and our product SOLESY. SOLESY is an integrated system, so we're combining solar thermal together with photovoltaics and wind power integrated in one system, combined with an intelligent control. So that the system, or SOLESY, is not just a product to produce the energy. It's a product to think and to understand the energy and how to use it intelligent. So it's generate and produce that energy demand which is really needed and be delivered where it is needed. So with one goal, the maximum output and the minimum space, with less resources to rethinking heat, cooling, and the power of our world together in one system. Because if we are honest, every civilization is an energy story. Every energy decision shapes prosperity, stability, and our future. And this is why forums like this are so important, because in SOLESY we are using several technologies combining in one system to make the most of it. And that's also we need collaborations through businesses, to governments, to capital, and to people who are willing to think differently. So, my opinion, the next stage of innovations is not just of machines who think better. It's about intelligence has to arrive where real lives happen. In our buildings, in our ecosystems, in our infrastructure and energy systems. But above all, we have to make the balance between us and our environment. Because we must not forget, everything we build does not exist outside of nature. It is existing within it. And every system we create affects balance. So if we take land or use resources, we change the natural cycle. And the more we take and not giving back sustainable, the system becomes fragile. And at the end, the strongest foundation is not just technology, it's our ecosystem. The technological is only truly successful when it works with nature, preserves land instead of consuming, uses resources wisely instead of exhausting them, and uses strength system instead of destabilizing them. And the future do not belongs to those who make the biggest technologies. For me, it belongs to those who can bring tech and nature into balance, to create more impact with less space and redefine the progress. Not as more, but as better. So let's write a new story together, where innovation becomes not at the cost of nature, but in harmony with it. Because then we can create a future where it's not only technological basically, it's also truly worth living it. Thank you so much.
Jennifer, very inspiring. Thank you.